how to really be successful in reaching them. So I have a couple questions for her. As an excited audience member, please feel free to come through with your comments. I'll be looking at it on the side. But please, Raven, can you please introduce yourself to the people?
Hi, everybody. My name is Raven Magwood. I'm a motivational speaker and the best-selling author of The 7 Practices of Prosperous Women. And what I do, I really travel around the country. Of course, not now. We're doing everything with social distancing, but I travel and I give people the tools to unlock their full potential in life. And with that, a lot of it revolves around being able to set a vision for your life, setting goals for your life, and then following through with those goals. And so that's really what I'm here to speak with you tonight about, how to set and achieve better goals. Because I hear it all the time. You know, I hear people say, I don't know how to set a goal. What should I put down? How do I go after achieving it? And then I hear people say, I just can't follow through. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Fantastic. Okay, so what actually made you decide to move into that, like to really pursue this as the focus of how you're really trying to reach the people? Like what prompted you to really go into this field?
Yeah, it really started as an accident. I used to be extremely shy. You would have never told me in a million years, 10, 15 years ago, that this would be my career. I was so shy, I just didn't like to be in front of people. It just wasn't me. But I wrote my first book at 11 years old. It got published when I was 12. And it was just about what I had accomplished at that point in my life. I was a national gymnastics champion. I had skipped 2 grades. And I just ended up speaking about that, but then some of the setbacks and failures that I had at that time. And it turned out to be this amazing little book that's still in elementary and middle schools to this day. But when it was published, I got invited by Stedman Graham to give a keynote address. And when I was invited there, I got a standing ovation. And that was kind of like the turning point of, wow, maybe I was put on this earth for a different reason than I originally thought, you know? So that was the start of everything. And then it's kind of snowballed from there.
Okay. It's interesting how you talked about how something unexpected opened up like a major avenue forward. Isn't it interesting how, like, can you talk about the relationship between responding to unexpected events and like how that can really open up our lives in unexpected ways?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think sometimes we can have a vision for our life and we think we know exactly what it is that's going to happen to us. And then things come in our path that we really have to take advantage of. And when those things come, we just have to learn to stop and listen. Maybe we're being steered in a different direction, an even better direction than we could have even thought originally. And that's happened to me on multiple occasions. There's been times when I thought I was going in one direction, I get steered in a different direction, and the results are amazing. They're even better than I could have thought. It happened even when I sold my first screenplay. I went to go give an interview on the opening ceremony night of the Olympics. And I actually wanted to cancel the interview because I figured people wouldn't be watching. They were all watching the Olympics. And so my mom said, no, you made the commitment. You need to go. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So I went to do this live interview. And one of the guests that was also on the show was also a movie producer and a gospel records. They owned a record company. And so they were getting into trying to figure out what their next movie project was going to be, asked me to send over my screenplay. And within a few weeks, it was greenlit. And so it was exactly. So it's just one of those things where
I don't
it
have
was,
the air horn like Dave.
yeah, right. But it's one of those things where what if I would have canceled just because it was the opening night of the Olympics? So, you know, you just never know. You got to do the best of what you have where you are every single day, and you'll end up where you need to be.
I understand that. And so I think just taking on that idea of being where you need to be. A lot of times in the bully gang, we talk about the importance of getting in the room. And twice
Yeah.
you've told the story about just being in the room where you needed to be enabled you to meet who you needed to continue to
Yeah.
make your project or your mission in that space move a step forward. So a lot of us find ourselves, we fight so hard, right, to get into the room. And then we're there, we're like,
Right.
so like, what kind of encouragement or like an example can you share with our listeners and our viewers about how to push through? Okay, so you fought so hard to get in the room. what do you do now?
Yeah, you have to be confident in what it is that you bring to the table. I think that's the most important thing, because if you're not confident in what you're bringing to the table, how can you expect someone else to be confident in what you have to offer? So that's huge. But then it's also about really being prepared for the opportunity. I think a lot of times we just simply aren't prepared for it. We say, oh, I need to meet this person. Oh, I need to get in the room. Oh, if I could only, XYZ. But then if that opportunity comes, we're not even ready for it. And I know I have actually the perfect example. This happened to me years ago, and it just taught me to always be prepared. I had the opportunity to meet First Lady Michelle Obama, and I was just there. She was giving a speech, and I was just there in the audience, not really thinking too much of it. I just thought I was going to be inspired by what she had to say. And she ended up at the end, there was a reporter that was doing a story on her that had done a story on me a couple of weeks before. And he called me over, and when he called me over, he introduced me to her. And so she was told about my books and about the things that I was doing. And she said, Raven, I want a copy of your book. Do you have one with you? And I didn't. I did not have a copy of my book with me. And that's the look she gave me. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have a book with me. What do I do? And so I actually told her, I said, well, there's some books in my mom's car. If you would wait here, I don't even know what possessed me to ask her to wait for me, but I did. And she said, you know what? I will wait. So I had on like 6-inch heels. I'm running through the parking lot as fast as I could. My 40
Ma'am,
time had to be like a 4.2. I know I was going so fast.
I'd have
I
chucked them shoes in the corner. I would
right.
have ran barefoot to
I
the.
remember actually, I guess I was so excited, I ran with those shoes on. But I ran back. She was still there. I gave her a copy of the book. She asked me to sign it to her. And she just said, Raven, people will take interest in your story. You've got to be prepared for every opportunity that you're given. And so it's kind of at that moment that the light bulb went off. You can have any opportunity you want, but if you're not prepared for it, it's useless. And so I ended up having a good ending to the story. She got the copy of my book, and I had a lesson learned, but that's just the perfect opportunity. Don't beg and plead to get in that room if you're not prepared to be there.
That's really great. So it's interesting, like talking about your book and talking about your story. Like, let's get into that for a second. Like, I know one of the things that like doing my research on you, one of the things that you've done is start a gym, right?
Mhm.
And you're
Yes.
very young. So, like, can you talk about like what was your impetus to start a gym at such a young age? Like, what made you do that?
Yeah, my mom and I actually co-own the gym together, and it was one of those things that we were talking about before about opportunities just presenting themselves and being ready. I was actually working in the gym before the opportunity came. It's a gymnastics facility. I'm a former national gymnastics champion. I was coaching in there. Really thought it was going to be a one and done year for me because I did it as a favor for one of my former teammates she was coaching there and had to leave unexpectedly. So I went there thinking I'm coaching for a year. A year turned into 2 years, and then the owner, who was getting older at the time, he was approaching 70 years old, he's pulled me aside and he said, Raven, the girls have really fallen in love with you. I just love kind of how you operate with the gym, with the employees. Would you consider taking over? I want to retire. And so, we talked about it, and he just looked at me and he said, I look at you like a daughter. I would really love if you could take over the gym. And so I went home, I talked to my mom about it, and we decided to go full force with it. She had an opportunity where she was actually selling some property, and everything just worked out so perfectly. And we got it together to be able to purchase the gym. We did. And, now I'm running the day to day operations for the gym, and we're doing well. So it's just one of those things. Be aware of opportunities. And then once you've set that goal, and we have that goal of making this gym a success, then follow those steps to make it a success, and to do the absolute best that you can.
I love that. But just a quick little question about gymnastics itself.
Mhm.
National gymnastics champion. What were your favorite events?
Okay, so my best event was actually not my favorite event. It was the balance beam. I don't think many gymnasts,
Hard.
yes, I don't think many gymnasts love the beam, but it was my best event. I always won beam. I was just very good at it, even though I hated being up there. I really loved floor. I like to be able to dance and tumble. I had a Michael Jackson floor routine, so it was really cute and fun. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time as a gymnast. I had such a good time doing it, and I learned a lot about discipline, leadership, and other skills like that.
And you said beam. It's interesting. That's the one apparatus that really I think requires the most fearlessness because you've
Hmm.
got 4 inches of space
4 inches,
to
exactly.
work on. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever wondered how wide a balance beam is in gymnastics, it's 4 inches. So
Four
go look at
inches
that
wide.
stiletto. That's how much they have to work with. So there's a certain amount of fearlessness, that just saying beam to me is like, wow, she's fearless.
Hmm.
And so do you see like the types of fearlessness and boldness and the importance to really like run up, get that momentum and go for it? Do you see parallels
Oh
between that
yeah.
and being a business owner? Could you like, are
Yes,
there parallels?
most definitely there are. You do have to be fearless when you're doing a back handspring layout on a 4 inch wide balance beam. And you have to be fearless when you're going into certain aspects of business because you're going to be told no. Things aren't going to go your way all the time, but you have to be willing to push forward. And even when you are fearful, to have that courage to move forward no matter what. So despite the negativity, and I know even now we're in some, kind of negative times, you just have to be willing to figure out a different way around it. Because guess what? Life, a lot of times we're on this path, but we'll hit detours along the way. And we have to be willing to move forward in a positive direction to still get to our destination, even when we hit those detours. So, yeah, fearlessness is very important, not taking no for an answer. I know what I want. I'm going to find a way to get it.
So as you mentioned, like in this time, I feel like this Corona situation has pivoted us all in
Yes.
uncharted territory. So can you speak a little bit about how you've been able to pivot in the face
Yeah.
of the coronavirus? Like, 'cause I know it's adversely affected everyone's business, but
Yeah, it has.
how
And
have you
even
transitioned?
yeah, even with the gymnastics facility, of course, we had to close just because of that situation. So we're navigating that. Of course, I'm not just a gymnastics coach. I have an amazing opportunity to have books and other things, just like I'm with you here tonight, and I'm able to speak and motivate other people. So that's really what I've been concentrating on. I've tried to look at the positive, even though I miss my girls, I miss being at the gym. I have a lot of time right now to finish up a screenplay that I'm writing. I've been doing a lot of interviews and speaking to individuals about their goals and how to move forward and get those. I've been doing a lot of reading and, just trying to come out of this a better version of myself. And that's what I encourage other people to do as well. There's things that you can do starting today to become a better version of you. And what things can you do today that your future self will thank you for?
That's great. You know what I haven't heard yet? Your website. What is your IG handle? Like, because we have people here listening because what you're
Yeah.
talking about is so amazing. We're going to continue talking, but how do people find you on social media
Yeah,
platforms?
my website is www.ravenmagwood.com. And on there, you can sign up for my newsletter. We send out different positive articles and things of that nature, some discounts for my books and things like that. So definitely go to the website, sign up for the newsletter. On IG, I am at Raven Magwood. So just my name. That's probably the social media I'm most active on. So definitely get me on Instagram. Facebook, same thing, at Raven Magwood is my fan page. And I do try my very best to respond to as many messages as I can. I get a lot, so I can't physically do them all, but I love interacting with my fans and giving people an opportunity to have insight into what I'm doing and with what I do. I just want to inspire other people. I say all the time, your life may be the only Bible that another person reads. And so, with that, I just want to live my life in such a way that other people just want to be better versions of themselves. And, whether I'm being silly or going after a goal, I just think somehow, some way, I'll inspire you.
And you said your life may be the only
The only
Bible.
Bible that another person reads.
Heard that,
Mm,
world? That's a note right there. So
period.
don't be afraid to tell the story. That's really deep. So I have a question from the audience
Hmm.
talking about like in the idea of being a business owner and having balance in your life, to have a business owner and to have so many streams of revenue, so many things that you're working on. How do you think that squares with dating life? Do you find that that's a challenge for you? Do you find you date a certain type of people? Like, what
Hmm.
do you notice? How does it impact your relationships and dating?
Yeah, I think it's just about being intentional. I think if you're intentional, you can balance the different aspects of your life. But then you also have to look at someone that's going to understand what you're doing. I need someone who's going to understand that I really live my life in such a way that I just spoke about, that your Bible may be the only, your life may be the only Bible another person reads. And so, yes, balance is extremely important, but I do keep it. I speak to schools all the time, and I'll get the students to ask me, how do they get a 4.0 but still have fun? And I tell them all the time, I had fun in high school. I had so much fun in college. I went to parties, I had fun, I dated. But it's about balance. I didn't say I want to graduate with a 4.0 from Clemson and go out every single night. I was in the honors college. I wanted this 4.0. I was taking a lot of difficult classes. So it just wasn't physically possible. You can't have all play and no work. You can't have all work and no play. It's all about balance and being intentional. And sometimes I put play into my schedule. You do have to be intentional with that. I'll say, you know what, I am going to go to that party on Friday night. And I'm going to let loose and have fun because I deserve that. But then for the rest of the weekend, I just might be in my room doing work all weekend. So, like I said, it's just about maintaining that balance and then just knowing what you deserve in a relationship. And with that, just knowing what you'll put up with, what you won't, and you have to be willing to walk away if a situation doesn't serve you.
Have you ever had to be in a position where you had to choose yourself over an interpersonal relationship, even if it wasn't dating? Because a lot of people, as
Yeah.
we evolve, our circles have to
Yeah.
shift. So, can you
Of
share about that?
course. Yeah, in a lot of cases, you end up realizing that you have to love a person from a distance. And that's happened multiple times in my life, whether it is dating or just a friend. And that doesn't mean that person can't pick up the phone and call me and ask for advice or that I'm just completely cut out of their life. But what it does mean is that maybe we're just going into two different directions and it doesn't serve either one of us to have a certain type of relationship. And so, yes, it's happened multiple times where I found myself having to walk away because you have to do what's best for you in any situation so that you can be of service to other people. And that was just a lesson that I had to learn. I can't help other people. I can't serve other people if I'm not being true to myself. And so, in that, I just had to learn, okay, if the situation really isn't serving me, if all it's bringing is anxiety and negativity, then I have to be done with it and love that person from a distance. And you know what? It doesn't mean that that person becomes your enemy. If I'm friends with someone, if I love you and I say I love you, but we just kind of have to separate and have that distance in between us, you know what? I still want you to eat. I just may not want you to eat at my table, and that is fine.
Mhm. Hey, I don't want you to be cold, but you can't have my blanket though.
Right.
No, no, I understand that. I think that's really fair. Um, I actually was thinking about just the idea of not all enemies are external.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have internal enemies that
Oh,
make it
yeah.
difficult for us. Because I know, like, your area of expertise really relates to setting goals. So, can you talk about some of the internal types of obstacles and internal enemies that we have to battle with while we're trying to set goals, and even after we've set them, while
Mhm.
we're on the path
Yeah.
to achieving that? Can you
There's
speak to that?
definitely a lot of internal struggles that we can face on the way to setting goals. My 4 steps to better goal setting include understanding the method, losing details, not getting caught up in the how, and then understanding that you're going to face adversity along the way. And when I say that there's a method to setting goals, I just say that you always have to be willing to set your short term goals in relation to your long term ones. Because sometimes we can set long term goals that are super lofty and amazing, and that's awesome. Don't set low long term goals, but you have to know how to break those up so that you don't become discouraged when you're not accomplishing that long term goal in a week, in a month, even in a year. And so we want to set up our goal setting in a way that we're giving ourselves wins along the way. Because if we're not giving ourselves wins, then that's when that discouragement sets in. That's when that internal struggle of, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? And so that's definitely the first step. There's a method, set those short term goals in relation to the long term goals. The second step is to lose the details. I hear all the time that people say, well, I just don't set a goal because I just don't even know what that goal should entail. I don't know what all should even be in the goal. And, I will equate it to when you don't know necessarily who your spouse is going to be in the future. You don't know what that person is going to look like exactly, how tall they're going to be exactly, but you do know the type of person that you want to be with. You do know in general what you expect in a spouse. And that's how it is in life and other goals. You don't have to put off setting a goal because you don't know all the details. You know what direction you want your life to go, kind of what you expect and what you want. And so use that to wake up every day and have a direction that you're going to. So that's extremely important. And then number 3, don't get caught up in the how. Because this is another thing. People get analysis paralysis. They get caught up in the how. How is this going to happen? How am I going to get there? I need to, exactly. I need to talk to this person. I don't have access to this person. You don't have to see the end of the journey to start the journey. And I equate this all the time to driving in your car at night. When you're driving in your car at night, you do not have to see your end point to be able to drive. All you need to do is to be able to see the 200 feet that are in front of you that you're allowed to see through your headlights. And so as long as you keep moving forward in the appropriate direction, the next 200 feet are going to reveal itself, the next 200 feet, the next 200 feet. Sooner or later, you're going to look up and you're at your destination. And those 200 feet are like your short-term goals that you should be setting for yourself every day, every 30 days. As long as you keep accomplishing these short-term goals and you cross them off and pick another short-term goal to accomplish, cross it off, pick another short-term goal to accomplish, you're going to look up eventually and you're going to be at your destination, even if there's some detours along the way.
So
So
let's
don't get
unpack
caught up
that.
in the how. Yes.
Let's unpack that one right there, because I like this idea of you're going to see these, you're going to hit these
Mhm.
short-term goals, collect these wins. So just as an example of it, because it's everybody wants to be able to visualize what that looks like, right?
Mhm.
So can you give me
Yeah.
an example of a bigger picture goal and what a couple of the like milestone intermittent wins might look like?
Okay. For example, when I was writing my book, okay, it's a full blown book, chapter book. If I just said, you know what, the goal is to finish the book, then every day I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I have 30,000 more words to write. I'm never going to get there. It just becomes a daunting task. But if I say, okay, I want to have this chapter done in this amount of time, then I can say my goal for today is to write 2 pages that are really good and solid. My goal for tomorrow is to get the quotes gathered for my book. My goal the next day is to talk to the publisher about what needs to happen. And so you start breaking it up. And once you do all of these things and you do it for a specified period of time, now, okay, you have 3 chapters and 4 chapters, and you have your publication lined up and you have your graphics. And then you're going to look up and the book is done, which is what happened in my case. But it's really with any goal, you just have to know how to break it down. If you want to run a mile in 8 minutes and right now you run it in 15, your next goal shouldn't be, I want to run in 8 minutes. It should be, let me run it in 14 minutes and 50 seconds. Let me get down to
There
14
we
minutes. Let me
go.
get down to 13. Exactly. And so that's what you want to do. Right now in quarantine, I have a goal. I'm reading the Bible cover to cover. So with reading the Bible cover to cover, that once again a daunting task. But if I say, you know what, I'm going to do this half of this book on this day, and the next day I'm going to read this many verses, and the next day, I hope to look up soon and have it done. But it's about breaking it up, giving yourself wins, feeling satisfied about your progress toward the bigger goal.
That's fantastic. And so that was that step 3. And what was the fourth step? Because
And the
thank you.
fourth
That's really
one,
to pack that. Go
yes.
ahead.
And the fourth one is just to understand that you will face adversity on your way. It's just unrealistic to think just because you want something that is going to happen exactly the way that you want it to happen. You're going to face adversity, and there may be cases where your goal even changes and it shifts, and you have to be willing to listen and understand, is this the way that I'm supposed to go? And it could end up being the best thing in your life. Like I even said with the gymnastics facility, that wasn't something that I wanted to do as a little girl, but things lined up for it to happen. And it's one of the most fulfilling things that I do now. So you just have to be willing to be pliable into the direction that you're going, but not to give up on the ultimate things that you want.
Thank you very much for that point. I'm looking to see if I have any questions coming through. Um, you got a shout out. James said that he loves how your fearlessness from sports translates right to business.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
So
Thank
see,
you.
so other people can see the parallel of that. But
Yes.
But but we're all, because we're all humans, right? And the thing that compels people most to trust us and go with us on these journeys and trust us as authors and motivational speakers and artists and creators, etc., is really feeling like people can empathize with us and we can
Mhm.
empathize with them. you know Fear is natural and fear is not always bad. Like, is there a specific fear that you yourself battle with, as you're, because you're such a trailblazer and you're
Mhm.
doing things that are very far out of the box, for your
Yeah,
generation, Black women, quite a few things. So,
yeah. I've discovered I have a fear of failure. I just do not like to fail at anything, whether it's personally, whether it's professionally. And it can take a toll. It can take a toll to want to be perfect in every aspect of your life. It's not possible. And I've had to kind of take a step back and give myself grace and understand that that's not going to happen. And it's just been a learning lesson. I'm young. Still only 27 years old. I have a whole life to live, hopefully, and
yes.
things that I have to learn. But yeah, I've discovered that that is my fear. But I think it's what drives me to have accomplished so much at such a young age. I do enjoy the chase of the next success and the next thing, and it's fun to me. I love writing and I love meeting new people and I love inspiring people. So that fear is something that drives me, but I had to learn that I couldn't let the fear overtake me. And I have to understand, what, Raven, failure is going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. You're not perfect. And things are going to happen in your life that are hard. And I think God took me through some things to learn those lessons. I've had two breast tumors that required me to have two lumpectomies. To be a 19-year-old with a breast cancer surgeon is something most people don't have. And so just going through experiences like that had me to learn and appreciate life and understand, life just isn't going to go the way you want it to go all the time. And, whether it's someone that you're in a relationship with that you think, okay, we're about to spend the rest of your life with this person, and then it just turns out to not be right. You end up in a very bad situation. That's happened to me before. So, things just don't go the way you plan all the time, and it's okay. There's a learning lesson in every situation. There's something to be learned, and it doesn't mean that you're necessarily even doing something wrong. I think God allows us to go through certain things to test us, to make us stronger, to get us to the place that we're supposed to be. And that is perfectly fine. So, yeah, to answer your question, fear of failure is definitely there, but I have learned to give myself grace. So, we're working on it.
So looking forward, we're going to come out of this at some point. Things are going to be different. And, you know, what kind of, what would you like our viewers and our listeners to really think about as far as goal setting, not just for how to survive this, but this and then moving forward to life post corona, because there will be life after.
Oh, yeah, of course. I think now is the time to plan. Now is the time to start getting our ducks in a row and thinking about what we want when we're able to leave our houses again. There's a famous quote, I think it's from Abraham Lincoln, where he said, if I had 6 hours to cut down a tree, I would spend the first four sharpening the axe. And I just think there's a lot to be learned from that quote. We have to plan ahead. We have to plan for the things that we want. So that's what I would say for those of us that are home. Some of us are still, we're on the front lines or they're on the front lines, and I appreciate them so much. But for those of us that have this extra time, why not learn something that you've been dying to learn? Why not use this time to plan, whether it's financially, personally, professionally? If now you find yourself even spending more time with your kids, don't take for granted that time. Talk to your kids, find out what's going on in their life, build those relationships. Maybe this is the most time you've spent with your spouse in a while. Don't take that for granted. And then when you come out of it, be prepared to go, be prepared to hit the ground running. Don't take that for granted, because who would have thought even a few weeks ago that we would all be sitting in our homes? So you just never know. Exactly. You never know what kinds of things this world may bring, but be prepared for it, be prepared to move forward on different aspects. And then once again, adjust. Life is about knowing how to adjust.
So speaking of that, like, have you created a space right now where like an online community, or like how is, like, with the motivational speaking, like what kind of community are you creating or is available for people who want to go further and learn more about and like listen to your motivational speaking? Like, do you have a group people can join? Have you developed a course? Like, What's next? What's going on?
Yes, everything that I've done lately has actually revolved around these 7 practices. It started with the book, The 7 Practices of Prosperous Women. I now have a success journal that will be coming out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'll be announcing the official date on my Instagram page very soon. So go follow me at Raven Magwood. But the success journal really breaks down what we've been talking about. I take you through every day where you have a to-do list. You check off the things on those to-do list. You ask yourself every single day, what did I do today that my future self will thank me for? And you do this professionally, personally, physically, spiritually. You do this every single day for 90 days. You have 30-day check ins. It's really, really cool. It just holds you accountable for your goals that you've set for yourself. So that'll be coming out really, really soon. I do have an online course that will also be coming out in the next few weeks that revolve around the 7 Practices of Prosperous Women. So if you sign up for my newsletter on my website, ravenmagwood.com, it will be all there. We'll be sending all the info. For the first few people to sign up, we'll have a special discount for you. So I'm just super, super excited about what is to come. On my Instagram, IGTV, I have interviews, I have quotes, I have things that I just want to use to impact people, to inspire them. Instagram is fun. And I want people to see a different side of me, even like my goofy and silly side. But once again, I want them to be inspired by my life, whether it's a mistake that I've made, whether it's an experience I've had or a person that I've met, just like with the Michelle Obama story. I just want people, when they meet me or they interact with me, to feel like they're walking away a better person. And then I feel like I've done my job.
Wow, that's really great. So, I mean, let me check and see if there are any more questions or comments. Because I'm through Zoom on my computer, but I'm also trying to follow on Facebook feed. Okay, so I have another question here.
Okay.
Okay, why do you think some people are not taking this time to learn something new?
It's very easy to fall into the trap of social media. I found myself falling into this trap of just kind of not utilizing my time the best of my ability when this first started. I literally, the first few days, just found myself scrolling through Instagram for hours at a time and making TikTok videos, and all that's fun. Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because, like we were talking about, you have to have balance in your life. But when I looked at my screen time was a ridiculous amount of time and I was not accomplishing anything, I said, wait, hold up. Let me take a step back here. And what could I be doing with this time? And that's when you have to be intentional, because we're all given 24-hour days. The most successful person in the world, you, me, we have 24-hour days, but what are you doing with your 24 hours in order to be successful and get to your goals? And so I think people have just, some of them have just fallen into a trap of, I have nothing to do. Let me just do busy work. Let me fill in my time with things that aren't important. But if you're intentional and you say, no, I'm going to use a couple of hours of this time period to do X, Y, Z, then you can accomplish more than you would ever even have imagined. But you have to be intentional about it. Things don't just happen. You've got to make them happen.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So we're about to be out of time. We have like 1 minute left. Is there any like really like any closing thoughts you want to leave with our viewers?
Yeah, just make sure that you're doing the absolute most with what you have where you are. And prosperity just isn't about money. Like I said, this situation has forced us to get closer to even the people in our homes, whether it's a kid, a spouse, whatever it is, or just have time to heal ourselves. So utilize this time to the best of your ability. And if there's something that you've always wanted to do, break down your day, be intentional, make it happen.
Wow, yes. On behalf of the team behind the scenes at CoronaCon, I just really, and on behalf of all of our viewers, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your experience, your energy, your expertise,
Most
your life with us.
definitely.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Raven.
And thanks for
And
having me.
great. And one more time, can you run down your handles one more time?
Yes, website's www.ravenmagwood.com. Sign up for the newsletter when you get there. Instagram is at Raven Magwood. Facebook, same thing, Raven Magwood. So definitely get on there, hit me up. I do try to respond to my DMs, can't get them all. But if you have a question, please feel free to ask me.
And what's the name of that book again?
The 7 Practices of Prosperous Women.
All right, y'all, you heard it here. Thank you again for being a part of
Thank
CoronaCon with us,
you.
Raven. Viewers, thank you for sitting in here and enjoying the session with us. Thank you for your questions. Thank you so much. And we're going to end this section of the broadcast here, and Dave will be online with our very next guest, and you do not want to miss them. They are incredible. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.